Most attachment is really rooted in one thing: the things that we couldn't heal, the things that we couldn't fix, the things we couldn't save. Those things, the things that we were never able to control fully, those are the things that cause attachment to us. And this series that we're diving into, this short series, comes from these conversations that I've had with people. Because myself, all of us included, I feel like there's stages where we all go into things where we desire an outcome, where we have a vision of what it's going to look like, where we can anticipate almost the future of it, the life of it. So we create such attachment to these things because in our mind it's there in our lives, in our career, in the things that we studied for, the workforce that we went into, the romantic relationships that we were in, the familiar or family relationship, the philia, that kind of love. We create a story and we don't detach because we're still attached to what could be. We have this imagination of our future in a place that's probably never going to exist. So let's look at that. I don't want you to ever think that all your solutions are going to come from like social media, that they're all going to come from podcasts, they're all going to come even from like therapy with a one-on-one person, or they're not always going to come from one single source. The way we grow, the way we heal, the way we detach, the way we become better is through a process of accepting truths and things from different places and then coming to our own hearts and our own minds and then making something out of that. No one can fix anything for you. No one's going to change the outcome of your life. No one's going to change the relationships that you should be or shouldn't be. And no one's going to change the way you feel about something. At the end of the day, everything is in your court. And there's so much power in that. There's so much authority in knowing that you have the final say, that you have the word as to what's going to be changed or fixed or done, and what continues and what doesn't. Now, regaining that power, regaining that understanding, coming to that reality, that's the hard part. That's where a lot of us struggle because we haven't conditioned ourselves enough to know this. So when we talk about detachment and this mountain of attachment, we're going to have to look at where it stems from. We're going to have to look at why we hold on to certain things. And this first episode is why we hold on. Right? So the roots of attachment and detachment. So we have this concept in our lives where we want to build. So you're human, right? Let's just take it to the simplest form. As a person, as a human, innately, naturally, you have this desire to build something, to grow, to create. It comes naturally out of. Some of us are more in tune, more active with those things. Some of us aren't. Some of us, we find it really difficult to get the motor started, right? You find that to hard to get past those barriers, but everyone has it. And for those of us that are easily flowing in that, it's kind of easier to adapt in certain things. And for those of us that are struggling in that, it becomes a little harder to adapt anywhere else because we don't know this about ourselves yet. We don't really see ourselves as creatives. We don't really see ourselves as creating something. We don't really see growth. But when we finally have a root that breaks out of that wall and it attaches to something, it becomes really difficult to break off from it. Because in your mind, you finally are in something that you can envision. In your mind, you see potential, you see growth. But the problem is that we can't marry potential. We can't build on potential. You can't build on potential income. You can't build on a potential home plot. You can't build on potential. Potential is good. Potential is important, and I'm not discrediting it. I'm just saying we have to be very cautious and discerning where it's potential and where it's waste. Where we're going to look at something and invest years of our lives to then feel like we're empty and broken because we poured into a place that had no intention of pouring back. We saw potential and we ran with it. So understanding that we hold on to things that sometimes we've become attached to, even if it's really small and minuscule, it's going to cause a lot of heartbreak to cut that piece off. But knowing that you have so much more everywhere else, this is the hard part. So we hold on to things because we finally made some level of attachment. We cling on to relationships, to jobs, to situations longer after they even stop serving us. In this episode, that's where we're breaking down this reality of the things that you're still holding on to and why they're so familiar. Because I think at the core of everything, a lot of reasons that we stay in places, not just because we finally saw us break through that wall and build that attachment, but a lot of the reasons we stay in certain things is familiarity. Like chronic relationships, chronic dating with people who are just not good for us. Like we tend to see the same person that we couldn't save in someone else in a different person. So what happens is that we create this bond, this attachment to these people, thinking that we'll be able to satisfy that desire of saving someone. And it's not always romantic. I want to be clear. Like you see this, Freud would be very happy with this statement right now. You see it in romantic relationships. There are people that date people and they have so much relationship to like their father wounds or their mother wounds, and they see those things and they try to mitigate and save that in other people. Now I want to be clear. I've been blamed about that. I'm not saying where or when, but even I've been blamed of dating people or dating at least one person whom has similar attributes, right, in life, not physical, but like characteristics and stuff like that. No, in my case, no. So for those few friends that are listening, in my situation, that's not the case. But we have fallen into these consistent things where we are creating this type of connection. So to be clear, I speak from a point of experience because I do understand how that looks in those premises, but I want it to be understanding that we can see things that other people might see and understand that we don't need to adjust or address, but to be clear in our intentions and what we see and what we accept. So I mentioned that because I love to use myself as an example, and because I don't think anyone's barred from it. Like I don't think any of us are freed from the fact that we do unfortunately fall into those situations, but they're not always the case. There are situations, but we need to understand what is tied to something that reminds us of someone else or something that reminds us of us that we couldn't fix or heal, so we hold on to it in other people. One of the biggest fears that we have, whether conscious or not, is that we are inadequate. Like there's a poem like that. We might have heard it in, forget the name of that movie about basketball, but Coach Carter. That was the name of the movie. And we have this fear that we will never live up to be enough, that we will never be good enough, that we will never be smart enough, that we'll never be pretty enough, that we'll never show up enough, that we won't have enough money. There are so many things that we are afraid of. And the fear of inadequacy actually stops us from striving into anything else. Like one big reason that we hold on to really bad situations in work or in school or relationships, which is always the saddest one of them all, is because we think that we won't find better. Like we think that we're not going to improve. We think that the next thing in our lives is not going to be better than what we have now. We would rather suffer with the devil we know than grow from the devil we don't. Than deal with that component with it. We look at the situation and our inadequacies or our thought of inadequacy ruins everything else for us. I think for a lot of people, we're so afraid of everything else, of the next stage, of the next step, of failing, of looking dumb, of being alone, of not having, we're so afraid of those things that we hold on for dear life to the thing that's killing us. And this is the irony. This is like the most ironic portion of this. And we stay in something that will never ever let us live, in fear that we'll die somewhere else. And I just want to pose this question before we even go into our points and dive even deeper into this component. I just want you to think about this. Is it better to be stuck where you are now? Like the place you're struggling to move from. Whether, again, this is not just about relationships. I just say it all the time because these are conversations that I have often. And I know that a lot of people are looking and seeking for those things. And they are important. And there's value to it. And there's truth to it. But I need you to ask yourself this question. Is it better to die here where I am now, or to die somewhere else away from this, knowing that I actually moved somewhere else, that I actually did something, that I grew, that I took the next job, that I took the leap of faith, that I left the really toxic relationships that I was dealing with, not just romantic, platonic, whatever it is, friendships? Is it better to stay in what's killing you than to potentially thrive and live somewhere else just because you're afraid of that next step? And I know I'm not saying it's easy. We say it all the time. It's easy to say, hard to do. But the reality is that it'll be hard to live for the rest of your life in this very same place because you thought that it was easier just to stay there. At some point, you just quit. You let go of the things that you've made you a slave. You let go of that desire for attention, or rather lack of attention. For a lot of us, what kills us is the fact that we want their attention. Like we want them to see us. We want them to love us. We want them to see what we have to offer. What's killing us deeply inside is that we know we can do all these things, that we offer all these things, that we are this person that they would need. But at the end of the day, I need you to understand that the person that needs you is not the person that will ignore you. The person that will love and pour fully into you is not the person that you have to beg to see you. I need you to understand that you are worth more than breadcrumbs. You're worth more than the convenient attention that's offered there. And we won't let go of anything, of anyone, until we realize that we're worth so much more. And every person that has lived on this earth deserves that. No matter where you are in your life, no matter the mistakes you've made, the stages that you're in, the growth that you're doing, you deserve fullness. You deserve love. And we're afraid to step into. We keep holding on to the bare minimum because we think that that's the maximum we'll ever get. You've been conditioned to believe that you're not worth more. And I need you to understand that that is a lie. Today, like this lie, this stronghold that's been over your life needs to be broken. Because you were created in a way that was unique, special, and purposeful. And if you're going to continue to live under that, then the pressure of who you were meant to be is going to crush where you want to stay. The reality of who you can be is what hurts your heart so much, because you know what you're capable of. You know where you could go to. You know that the things that you're holding on to are not holding you back. They're pulling you down. They're not just giving you positive enforcement, but they're pulling you completely down. So when we hold on to these things, the reason we're so attached, the reason we don't detach, is because we're still holding on to the thought of potential. We're holding on to the thought of our own fears. We're holding on to toxicity. So let's dive into these things. And why do we hold on? Why do we make it so difficult? You don't stay because it's good. You stay because it's familiar. Like, you don't stay in a relationship that's unhealthy for you because it's good. You stay because you know it, because you know you're accustomed to the routine. You're accustomed to what they're going to say. You're afraid to leave because you know that person has been there consistently, whether bad or good, for that time frame. And even though they're not showing up for a lot of us how we need them to show up for us in our mind, we've convinced ourselves that the fact that they're showing up is enough, and it's not. Just because there's a body there doesn't mean that there's love there. Just because they're using you for certain things does not mean that you're actually valued. Unfortunately, we'll stay in things that are killing us because we're afraid to walk away. You'll keep holding on and you'll never detach because you're making this connection deeper and deeper and deeper and just rooted in something that doesn't actually have substance. Most times we stay because we already know the pain. The pain we know is easier to deal with the pain that we don't know. And we think to ourselves, well, this is already what I'm expecting, so it can't hurt anymore. But here, why would you want to live a life like that? A life where you have to suffer just to be present to a person. We stay because we're afraid to move and what's out there. We're afraid of the next stages out there. We stay because the toughest thought we have is starting over. Like, we think what's going to happen. I promise you that starting over is less scary than staying under something. Like, starting over is going to be less scary than being in this thing that's obviously killing you. So you have to ask yourself these questions. What do you really want? Like, if I were to ask you, if we're having this conversation now, maybe it's only one-sided because I'm sharing it with you and hopefully something's being grown and developed and thought with you. But what do you really want? Like, in your career, in your relationships, in your world, and the things that you're doing, I need you to sit down with this thought and ask yourself, what do I really want? Is this person what I really want? And I'm not saying it's easy. Again, I speak from experience when I say these things. This is why I'm so grateful to God that I have all these struggles in my life, because the struggles are a point of conversation that I can understand deeper. I've struggled with these things myself. And I've struggled with looking at things that I knew were not healthy and not good for me. And I had to sit down and say, what do I really want? Like, is this what I really want? And even if you don't make the change completely right away, right? Not today, maybe it's something that's going to take time to process. My physical fitness, I'm trying to work harder. We're going to the gym, all these things. But what do I really want? Do I want this, or do I want to change? And I have to make the decision and say that this is what I really want. But this is the hard part. Now I have to be consistently reminding myself of what I really want, to the point that if it's hard to change today, the constant reminder of it chips away of everything. What do you really want? Do you want to stay there? Are you happy there? Are you joyful? Are you growing? Are you purposeful in this thing? Now ask yourself, is this lifestyle, is this person, is this career, is this family member, is this friendship, Do they match that? Like, are they edifying and growing and loving me to a point where I'm going to be that thing? Or am I just causing myself more hurt because I'm trying to force them to be in this life of mine in a way that they can't show up, in a way that they don't show up? What do you really want? Do they match that? And finally, are you the person with them? Are you that person with them? Like, are you the best version of you? Are you purposeful? Are you growing? Are you flourishing? The career that you're in, is it really bringing the best person that you are out? I think for a lot of us, we're afraid to leave people, to walk away from people. And this is, again, everything, not just romantic relationships, but even friendships. Like, I think sometimes we try to force friendships to stay because we're afraid of a life without them. Like, one of the hardest breakups you'll ever have is not even a romantic relationship, it's a friendship. Like, people that you anticipated to be around in different facets of your life for that long, knowing and realizing that they can't even come to the stages you're in now. And it's not about like beef or hating them or anything like that. It's understanding that when we grow, sometimes we separate. Like, we might have it might have been like a tree. We started near the same root, but at some point we went different ways. And the left limb of the tree doesn't hate the right limb of the tree. They're just distant. And it's okay to be separated. And I think we struggle with that because we think that we have to keep everybody close to us, around us. It's not possible. The more you grow, the harder it will be to even keep up with people. And that's okay. That's literally a part of life. But knowing that you don't have to force people to be in places, you don't have to force yourself to change to keep them, is the most freeing thing you will do. Sometimes the hardest thing to let go is of the story that you've told yourself. Like, the hardest thing you'll ever have to let go of is letting go of the narrative that you've made up in your mind. So we talked about this mountain of attachment. A lot of times we're attached to the story more than the person. Like, we're attached more to the thought that we have in our mind. We're attached to who we made them. We ruminate over the fact that we've created a whole life with them in our future. Even if we were never even together, the situationships, you see it all the time, where you create a narrative of like your marriage and your kids and the career path and where you would move and the 2-car garage and everything in this detail in this story that your brain now has to forget. And I think that heartbreak hurts more because you've never actually given yourself the physical disposition to hurt. You have to now live with this as a storyline that you've made in your mind. I think it hurts less to deal with this with a regular person that you were in a relationship with than something that you had to grow out of something else. I think the pain of what could have been hurts more of the pain of what we went through. I'm not saying it's more practical or any less hurtful in terms of time, but it is painful to detach from a story that you've already made. And I think the best way that we can ever do this is to realize that we created the story. That also means we created the character that they are. And we keep embellishing this character to make them look good because we don't want to accept the fact that they are who they really are, that they hurt us the way they hurt us. So we stay there because sometimes it's easier to allow them to look good in our story than it is to accept the fact that we couldn't judge their character correctly. Let them be who they are. Let yourself know the real story of what you're dealing with. The fear of emptiness keeps us tied to things that we've outgrown. Like the fear of not feeling like someone's validating us or seeing us or growing with us. That fear keeps us tied to places that we shouldn't be in. There's a famous meme, right, where they talk about this horse that's tied to a chair. I'm sure you've seen it, or an elephant tied to a chair. And the reason that they are that way is because from birth, they've tied them to a chair and they weren't able to move the chair. But as they grew, they were more powerful. They were more persistent. There's something they were tied to that actually has no significance, that doesn't have enough power to keep them back. But they've been conditioned so much to stay there that they think that that thing now has more authority. What if there are things in your life that you have given more authority to than it deserves? Like, what if there are things in your life that you've created relationships with or connections with, and because of the longevity of it, you've been tied to it? But the truth is that there's nothing there holding you back. In fact, it's not even serving you because it doesn't allow you to move or grow or change the way you need to. But you've been attached to it because you've been attached to it for so long. You refuse to let go of this thing because you think that that's a part of you. Listen to me. This is one of those things that we all struggle with in every stage of our lives. But we have created attachments to people and to things that don't actually have power over us, but we give it to them because we've allowed them to have authority. You have power over anything you allow to continue. Like the reason that a lot of us are still in this stage of attachment, the reason that we hold on to these places is not because they're more powerful than us, but it's because we've allowed them to have power. There's no one in your life that has authority over you that you haven't freely given to them. So put those things through that lens. Are the relationships that I'm in, the ones that I'm struggling with, the ones that I'm healing from, the ones that I've been around, are they fruitful, or am I just attached? Like, am I just giving power back to this place? We will never be able to outgrow the places that we've put ourselves under. And I say this often. I say relationships are just romantic, right? They're things that are people, they're friends, they're family members, they're places we've lived into. There are people who are attached to places because of the memories they've had in them. They're attached to inanimate objects, and those objects have so much power over them because they've equated the power of that attachment to those things. So I ask that question often whenever I speak to people. Are you attached to the thing or the memory? The person too. Are you attached to the person or the memory? Are you attached to what you think is there, or are you attached to them? And it's easier to heal from being attached to a person because if you can step back and look at it, then you can say, okay, well, this person isn't very good. They're not very kind. They're not very loving. They're not very gentle with me. They're not these things, and you can lose that attachment, not necessarily to the memories, because that's the hard one. We're attached to memories of certain things, or we hold on to them because we love how it felt in that moment. And we pit it against how we're feeling now. So whenever something feels better, you're always going to lean more towards that. You're always going to say, man, it was amazing to feel that way in this place, and I don't feel like that anymore. So I'd rather hold on to the happy memory than anything else. And for a lot of people, we fall back into the rut of ruminating over those thoughts, of just living in that memory, loving that memory more than the world we're in now. More than the reality that's directly in front of us. It's important to understand that you don't have to stay in places just because you remember something nice from it. It's okay to have those memories. It's beautiful to have those memories. It's great to be able to say, man, I remember how this felt. But it's also important to understand that that's not where you are now. That those memories are great and they're good, but they're not serving you in this place now. Detachment starts when you realize what's actually costing you to hold on. Like, this is going to hurt to hear, and I feel like it hurts anyone, but it hurts me to hear it. But the reality is that the longer we remain in things that are killing us, the things that are hurting us, the things that don't love us, the longer we hold on our attachment to these people, to these places, to these jobs, the longer we miss out on the things that were good for us. Like, the more you push away the thing that could have been, because you might be in a place that you're not supposed to be in, that is hurting you, that is killing you, that is making you feel horrible. But you hold on to that because you're holding on to the thought or the memory. And what happens is that could have been the moment that job was offered to you. That could have been the moment that next relationship that would have been your husband or your wife was offered to you. That could have been the moment that you were receiving this next stage in your life, but you were so busy holding on to this thing that was killing you that you made sure you missed out on the thing that was blessing you. You were so busy trying to force something that obviously is not working, does not love you, does not grow with you, does not serve you. So you're trying to force it to be the thing that it could have been somewhere else, that you miss out on everything else. What if the reason that we don't receive the things that we're praying for is because we're still holding on to the things that we're being damned by? What if the reason that you don't feel loved and feel purposeful in other things is because you're still holding on to the thing that's shown you it never will, but you want it to? You want it to change its stripes to fit the mold that you've created. There are some relationships that we deal with, some people that we deal with that are just never going to be good for us. And we cause ourselves more hurt trying to force them to be the things that they would never be. I need you to understand that this life is way too short for you to stay attached to things that do not love you, do not care for you, do not serve you, do not grow with you. And I'm not saying take the easy way out with everything, because that's not the premise here. You should work, you should try, you should grow. But if you see cycles being repeated, then it's your fault for going back into them. We need to be able to look at these things and say, this is not normal, it's not okay. So we'll break away from them. Detachment starts when you realize that it's actually costing you more to stay than anything else. And then finally, this reality that sometimes our attachment comes to people. And we've mentioned it before, but I want you to understand that you don't miss the person, you miss who you thought they were. I echoed that earlier on because I think this is so important. I think sometimes we cause ourselves more grief because of our mind than anything else. And your mind is so powerful, by the way. Like, your brain is extreme. Your brain can make up scenarios. Like, if right now, as you're listening to this, and first of all, thank you for listening to this podcast. I keep forgetting to do like the whole intro thing where you tell people to download and to save and to share, and especially download 5 stars, of course, but the download thing, because it helps us keep going. So I always forget to do those things. So I'm just going to try to be better and sprinkle them in there, because again, this is my job. So it's nice to have that. But thank you for listening. Thank you for being part of this podcast. Thank you for being here. But I want you to think about this now. Your brain is this powerful, right? So if I were to tell you to imagine a red Coca-Cola can, right, in your brain, if you're driving or something, maybe don't distract yourself. But if you could do it, just do that. And then I want you to change the background of that image that you have in your mind and make it blue. So you have a red Coca-Cola can with a blue background. And then I want you to imagine an elephant on top of that can balancing somehow. Your brain is so powerful that it can create this entire storyline, this entire narrative out of nothing, out of thin air, simply prompts and commands. And you were able to populate this thought. Well, 96% of you, because there are 4% of you that couldn't do that. And that's a whole other podcast in itself. That's how your brain, there are actual people who don't even have thoughts, right? They just respond. We're not talking about that right now, but that's a really good thing for an episode. But most of you, almost all of you, were able to create that. Imagine how powerful your brain is. Your brain is the most powerful thing in this world. In that same breath, it's also your biggest enemy, because your brain is very, very bad at actual memories. So what it does is that it tries to populate certain portions of the memory. It tries to recreate certain things. It does a really good job at staying with scents and stuff like that. So like your olfactory, which is part of the cranial nerves in your brain, and it's actually where scent and taste comes from. It is the strongest memory portion of your brain. Your brain will do a really good job memorizing things because of that. But everywhere else, it does a really bad job. It doesn't do a good job at memorizing actions or feelings or emotions. So what it does is it'll take certain things that it believes is going to serve you best. The whole goal is to keep you alive. So your brain will tell you something in a situation that will make you feel like, man, maybe that was my fault, or maybe I could have did this or changed something differently. And it makes you believe something that might not even be true. So what I'm saying here, what I need you to focus on, to grow with, is to tell your brain the truth. Like example, like if you're sitting here and you're remembering a memory, because you're not remembering a memory, you're remembering a memory of a memory. That's how that works. If you're sitting there and you're ruminating on this, I want you to tell your brain, is this person really that? Like, were they really this? Tell it the facts, give it the logic. Say, no, but this person, you're remembering this person or this job or whatever it might be, but particularly here in this person, I want you to tell your brain, but they didn't actually do these things for me. They didn't actually love me the way I needed to be loved. They didn't actually remind me of who I was. They just reminded me of how convenient I was to them. They didn't show up for me how I needed them to show up. They didn't show me that they were this person that I needed them to be. As much as I might remember the few gestures here and there, the reality is that they're not who they are. And it's going to take you a long time of doing this over and over again, because you have to recondition your brain. You have to teach it that the memories and the thoughts that it had before aren't the same ones that they are now. For a lot of us, we hold on to things. We hold on to people, to careers, to jobs, to schools, to family members. We hold on because the thought of what used to be is so powerful. And we fall in love with the idea, with the memory, not the person. So as we dive into the series of detachment, episode 2 and 3, we kind of talk about how to detach, like how to actively do the things we need to do to detach, and what do we do after, because I think that's important. I just need you to sit with this reality. What are you attached to? Who are you attached to? What's this core principle in your life that you can't let go of, or these core people or these core memories that you can't let go of that have created just difficulty? And is it actually even worth the the energy that you waste behind it? Like, is this thought even worth that? So again, thank you for your presence. I can't say it and stress it enough. I'm so grateful that I get to do these episodes. I'm so grateful for the DMs, even though I can't respond to them all, and that's partly um, a decision. Like, there are times where I don't get like a crazy, well, yeah, okay, I do get a lot of DMs, but there are times that's like hundreds of DMs. It's just insane. And there are times it's like 15 or 20, but I purposely don't respond to all of them because I actually try to limit time I spend on social media. I think it's a good thing, but also I don't want to pick and choose who I respond to and ignore the other hundreds of people. So I just make it a principle, but I do try to read at least some of them. I'm just so happy with this podcast. Even if, again, I say this all the time, and I feel like I'll always say it. Even if it doesn't continue, even if this is my last season or only season that this is ever up, I'm just so grateful for it because I've been able to see you, like you that are listening, and hear your voice and hear the amazingness that comes from something so small to me. So this is just my, like, again, continued gratitude for you and for being present. And thank you for being on this episode. And we'll continue this series on the next one. So we'll see you on the next one.